Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday. It's like the middle of the real week, but I always feel like Wednesday's super exciting because we only have one more day of on-air class. So we are halfway through the week in both senses, but more so true in the fact that we have just one more class this week as we just broadcast on Mondays to Thursdays. We are coming then to the end of our week 3 of our, remember for co-op, it's a 6-week radio Zoom schedule. We are looking at lesson 11 today, which means that we are past the halfway mark of our course. Our course is 20 lessons. We are on lesson 11. We have 3 weeks left, which means we are doing really well, sitting in a great spot to go through all of the curriculum material in time for the end of the school year. So tune in. For the next 50-ish minutes, we are going to go through the DCO3O, Creating Opportunities Through Cooperative Education course, Lesson 11. We've been talking about safety acts and policies. Yesterday, we started. Today, we're going to continue. Today, we're going to focus on personal protective equipment, hazardous scenarios, and the certification course that you are going to need for your culminating digital portfolio. Because yesterday was a lot of the heavy acts and laws and policies, I want to do a quick run through so that everybody is up to date and on the same page. We talked about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that it was adopted by the United Nations in 1948, but it is still an ongoing responsibility of individuals. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights outlines fundamental human rights that are to be protected. It consists of 30 articles emphasizing the inherent dignity of all individuals. Now remember, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is not an act or a law. It's more of a guideline. We went through all 30 articles yesterday, but the 30th article says nothing in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights implies that any person, group, or the state can take away your human rights. And that's what's important to know. If you read through the other articles, a lot of the articles refer back to the law, or they're then protected by a law that will help ensure it's being upheld. We talked about discrimination, how there are the different grounds, and that it is prohibited under both federal and provincial or territorial human rights legislations. So this one, the primary law at the federal level, is the Canadian Human Rights Act. So we have the Declaration of Human Rights, then we're talking about how it is a guideline, but it's supported by, and workplace discrimination in Canada is upheld by Ontario Human Rights Code as well. The protected grounds typically include race, color, ancestry, ethnicity, religion or creed, sex or gender, age, disability, family or marital status, national ethnic origin, political beliefs, criminal record, and citizenship. We defined harassment, that unlike discrimination where there are these protected grounds, harassment refers to a pattern of unwanted, offensive, or threatening behavior that's intended to disturb, intimidate, or cause emotional distress to another person. We went over the different types of harassment. There's verbal, physical, sexual, psychological, emotional, and online or cyberbullying. We talked about how a one-time thing is not okay, but it's not considered harassment. If it happens multiple times, then you've got a pattern, and that is harassment, which is why when we talked about our tips and tricks, we talked about how you need to record it, speak up, and seek help. When you're recording these incidences, you can prove that pattern. We moved from the basic human rights to the basic worker rights. Every employee has the right to a safe work environment. There are 3 basic worker rights: the right to know, the right to participate, and the right to refuse. We talked about how you need to be informed. You have the right to know what's happening where you're informed. You have the responsibility to participate. Everyone's safety is the responsibility of everyone. And then if you are going to refuse unsafe work, make sure you follow proper procedures and protocols. And that's when you are brought in the section of your independent learning booklet to the workplace safety course. You are to go through that work safe awareness 4 steps and make sure that you copy your certificate or print your certificate. Upload it to our Google Classroom and make sure that you are saving it for your digital portfolio. That is the culminating activity at the end. We then moved on to occupational health and safety, which is an act. It protects most workers in Ontario. It describes every worker has the right to know, participate, and refuse unsafe work. It talks about how every worker has the responsibility to do their part to keep the workplace safe. And the responsibility of safety in the workplace falls on everyone involved. We broke it down into the duties of the employer, duties of the supervisor, and duties of the employee. That's the workers. As a worker, you are to follow health and safety rules. It's up to the supervisor and the employer to provide the training, to enforce the rules, but you as the worker have to follow the rules. Just like it's the duty of the employer to provide proper equipment, the supervisor to monitor the proper use, it's up to you to use equipment in the way that you have been trained. Employer will identify hazards, supervisor, they provide the equipment. As the employee, you are to properly wear and utilize your PPE, your personal protective equipment, and we're going to jump into that today. This is just our refresher overview. We know that every worker has the responsibility to do their part to keep the workplace safe, that the responsibility of safety in the workplace falls on everyone, so make sure you report hazards. The supervisor can't fix it, the employer can't fix it if they don't know about it. And lastly, make sure you are always working safely for your own sake, but for those around you as well, that you're not endangering anyone else. We talked about the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act, that it's an Ontario law that outlines certain rights and responsibilities. The Workplace Safety and Insurance Board, WSIB, is an agency of the Ontario government that reports to the Ministry of Labour. It's a system designed to help protect workers. And this is where we jumped into the various hazards that WSIB has identified. They've classified 4 hazards: physical hazards, which can cause physical harm; chemical hazards, they can cause harm or illness upon exposure. Workers can be exposed through inhalation, ingestion, or skin contact. The biological hazards are those associated with exposure to bacteria, fungi, other microorganisms that can result in infections, diseases, and allergic reactions, to name a few. The last one, and this is where we left off yesterday, were the ergonomic hazards related to workplace design and involve risk factors that can cause musculoskeletal injuries. These in turn can lead to chronic issues. When we're talking about musculoskeletal disorders, we're referring that workers in many different industries and occupations can be exposed to ergonomic hazards, or what we refer to as MSDs. the musculoskeletal disorders. Risk factors at work include lifting heavy items, bending, it's those the repeated motions, the repeated actions, the whatever, if you're stocking shelves, you're up, down, up, down, up, down. The bending, the reaching overhead, pushing and pulling heavy loads, working in awkward body postures, and performing the same or similar tasks repetitively. Exposure to these known risk factors for MSDs increase a worker's risk of injury. Now, work-related musculoskeletal disorders are a group of painful disorders of muscles, tendons, and nerves. Carpal tunnel syndrome, tendinitis, thoracic outlet syndrome, tension neck syndrome are just examples of these work-related musculoskeletal disorders. For the purpose of developing injury prevention strategies, many health and safety agencies include only disorders that develop gradually and are caused by the overuse of any of the above constituents of the musculoskeletal system. The traumatic injuries of the muscles, tendons, and nerves due to accidents are not considered to be work-related musculoskeletal disorders. They are separate. When you think about it, almost all work requires the use of arms and hands. Therefore, most work-related musculoskeletal disorders affect hands, wrists, elbows, neck, and shoulders. Work using the legs can lead to work-related musculoskeletal disorders of the legs, hips, ankles, and feet, and some back problems can also result from repetitive activities. When you are in a situation where you are exposed to a hazard, you're often met with two different types of pain. There's the acute pain and the chronic pain. Acute pain is the pain that begins suddenly. It feels sharp, severe, or intense, and it's caused by something specific. Think of if you're putting your hand on the hot stove. You know it instantly. You get that sharp burn, that intense pain. You placed your hand on the hot element. You then get that pain receptor sending the message to the brain, something's wrong, and you remove your hand from the source. That burn then is painful and it can stay around for a while, but like a burn, most acute pain lasts less than 3 months. Treatment for acute pain might include bandage, cast, surgery, physical therapy, more than, just a burn or a cut. It might be something like a slip and a fall and, you land on your wrist because you go to catch yourself. You've got that immediate pain, that sharp, severe, intense, caused by specific slip on ice. But usually with a cast, maybe surgery, maybe some physical therapy, it will still last less than 3 months. Chronic pain, on the other hand, may be constant or it can be intermittent. That means it's not always happening. It might just flare up. It might do it on these days or these instances, but it could be constant. It can often vary in intensity. Today it's not so bad, for sure. I can feel it, it's there, but I can still do this and it's not a bad day. Chronic pain may be a condition independent of a specific illness or injury. It wasn't one thing necessarily that did it. It wasn't connected to any perceived threat or danger. Chronic pain is ongoing. It lasts more than 3 months. Treatment for chronic pain can require addressing physical, mental, and even social factors. So the acute is the instant, the chronic is over time. When we think of ergonomic hazards, we think of these musculoskeletal disorders. What can we do? What is it? How do we address it? How do we prevent it? The definition for ergonomics is the study of people's efficiency in their working environment. So what does it mean to be efficient in your working environment? If you can do your job from start to finish, no distractions from your essentially comfort level. If I cannot finish writing this report because my wrist hurts, my shoulders hurt, my neck hurts, my back hurts, I have to get up, I have to move, I have to stretch, I have to change my position, then I'm not being efficient. If I'm distracted because of a noisy coworker beside me, that's not ergonomics, that's a little bit different. But if it's because I can't do my job without needing to be more comfortable, then I'm not being efficient. Thankfully, it's 2025 and we have come a long way in the study of ergonomics and how to make employees more productive. There are now various ergonomic office equipment available. Employees who lack ergonomic office equipment can suffer a range of health complaints and workplace injuries, such as pain, tingling or numbness in the hands, fingers, or wrists. The cost of health is that poor workplace ergonomics can cost employees and businesses dearly. It's more than just maybe somebody taking 5 minutes longer. It's more than just, oh, that should have been done, but it's not. That definitely costs time, but it's also the overall happiness and effectiveness and productivity of workers that then can catch on and really bring down the productivity, which then is the cost. Now, I can't remember if I put it in this slide or the next slides, but legally, employers do not have to provide employees with ergonomic equipment. There is no law that states that they have to give ergonomic equipment. It is beneficial to the employer to cough up the extra maybe $100 to get that fancy chair. In the long run, it's worth it because then the employees are comfortable and more productive and finishing reports on time because they're not needing to get up, to move, to take time off, to get the feeling back in their hands. So there are things that employers can do and most of them will do, but keep in mind they don't legally have to. When we think of ergonomic equipment, I have a few examples on the slides in front of me of guess the product. How can the product shown be ergonomically helpful? The first product, if you're not following along with the slides, is this curved keyboard that is actually split in half. So you have your straight keyboard, you've got QWERTY across the top, and it's one rectangular piece. If you were to, right now, just put your hands in front of you, you'll notice that your elbows kind of cock out and your wrists are coming in. Rarely can you get your hands on a keyboard to be straight. You would have to put your elbows almost in front of you and the keyboard far away from you, which would fix the position of your hands, but then you can already feel the muscles in your back, shoulders, and neck adjust to account for that stretching of how far the keyboard is away. So a bunch of researchers came up with this ergonomic keyboard. Since our wrists are more facing in, that if we were to join our hands together, our forefingers and our thumbs would make a triangle. That's exactly the triangle that you see in the middle of the keyboard. Your wrists are out to the side, so adjust and curve the keyboard so it fits your wrists. This is just one way to change it. The next product is a sit-to-stand desk. If you want employees to be comfortable. If they've been sitting for a long time and their feet are getting cold, you might want them to adjust. These new sit-to-stand desks allow employees to just continue working as their desk raises up, and now they're in a different position. Might be a good stretch for their legs, their hips, their lower back. It allows them to move and work more effectively. Now, there has been research since these new sit-to-stand desks have come out. Some say it's not healthier, that employees are standing all the time, but at least with the sit-to-stand, you can have the ability to go from one position to the other. The next product is this weird stand that can be adjusted different angles, and it's a laptop stand, but can also be used for placing papers on top of. So if you're copying out a lot of data, if you're reading from a binder or a book and you're looking down and you're inputting the data into the computer, that's a lot of strain on your neck to be looking down. A stand such as the one pictured allows it to be up within your eyesight, line of view. Your neck can be straight as you are typing away. If you are in meetings, I will be the first to admit when COVID hit and we were on screens all day, every day for every kind of meeting, whether it was for a work or a committee that you were on, I got one of these laptop stands so that I wasn't always sitting with the laptop on my lap or on my dining room table. It allowed the angle to be adjusted to be more convenient. The next product pictured is an extension onto a desk or table that, much like the keyboard, allows for better wrist and forearm, which is then shoulder posture. When you can have that support on your forearms for your wrist to be working away, it is easier. If you can't get that keyboard, this might be a nice alternative. If you don't have space or room for this extension, there are a lot of office chairs now that offer these little swivel arms that come out from the arms of the chair that allow your wrists to rest. Technology is advancing, our knowledge of ergonomics is advancing, and so there are a lot more tools and products available to help workers be more efficient. The other product that's listed is, again, for that wrist support when you're working with your mouse so that you're not hovering, so to speak. It gives you that support for underneath to lay your wrist on. If you're doing a lot of maybe like a graphic design, if you're working with your mouse a lot, it's nice to have that support. The next product is it's kind of like a footstool, but it doesn't really bear weight. You can't stand on it. It's not going to give you extra height to reach the top shelf. This is, again, for your posture. You put it under your desk, and it allows your hips to sit at a better angle so that you are not losing feeling and numbness to your feet or toes. The next product is an example of an office chair and how crazy the chairs have gotten. A chair used to just be a board on four legs, essentially. Now it has dials and levers and knobs, and it allows for perfect ergonomic support for varying individuals. A lot of these office chairs will have a tension knob that allow you to adjust the backrest height. A lot of them have these levers that will adjust either the back, how it's feeling forward or back, height up or down so that your feet are touching the ground and you have that support. The seat tilt that allows the bottom seat to kind of come up more or down more. You have a tilt tension control knob. You have the forward backward tilt control knob. You have a seat slider bar. The arm width adjustment knob. You can have the arms on your chair go out farther for those with a little more hip, And then there's the arm height adjustment. So you can have the height of your arms come up or down so that you're at a nice 90-degree and not slouched one way or the other. Chairs have come such a long way. Most vehicles now, you'll notice, can adjust beautifully with different lumbar support and this tilt control for your seat. Recognizing that a lot of people spend more time in their vehicles than they used to, long commutes, long road trips, and you want that ergonomic support in your vehicle as well. So check out your chair, see if it's something that you have, something that you play around with, and maybe adjusting it so that it suits you will help you be more efficient. For those that don't have the fancy seat, whether at home, in the office, or in the vehicle, there are extra pillows that you can add to give you that lumbar support. It's a little bit of a cheaper option and can usually be universal in whatever chair it can wrap around. So again, remember, your employer does not have to buy you the $3,000 chair, the fancy ergonomic equipment. It is beneficial to them if they provide you some sort, but for an employer, it might be, here's this lumbar pillow, we're trying to help. And if that's the case, if it's not good enough for you, you might have to spend your own money on getting your own office chair that will help with your posture and you to be efficient. The last product that I have is, I'd say, an older product. I don't think I've seen these in a few years. I'm not even sure if they would make them anymore because we have more technology now. This phone had a cradle that was for a lot of people who spent time on the phone, whether they were on sales or reception, or if they had to multitask, they could hold the phone to their ear by pinching their shoulder to the ear. And if it was a small, skinny phone, you really had to bend. But this cradle allowed so that it wasn't so much of a kink in the neck. It added this cradle that formed around your shoulder and would hold your phone to the ear while your hands were free and you could be typing or writing or whatever you needed to do. Now we have a lot of hands-free headsets. We have different products that allow us to be hands-free, a lot of Bluetooth, so you don't see these phones anymore. But the idea is to allow you to have that good posture. When we talk posture and advancing technology, there has now been a new diagnosis, I guess we'll call it, and it's about text neck. Do you suffer from texting neck? With all of our devices, whether it's our iPad or our phones or whatever it might be, we are looking down more often than we ever used to before. There's an infographic that I have on the board, Technology's Pain in the Neck, and it shows the posture of your neck being at 0 degrees. If you are looking down at your phone, depending on how high you hold your phone, if your neck is lowered by 15 degrees, it's putting 27 pounds of pressure on your neck. If you're looking down further, 30 degrees, it's putting 40 pounds of pressure on your neck. If your neck is angled at 45 degrees, you are feeling 49 pounds of pressure on your neck. If you are right close to your phone, it's right down, your neck is angled at 60 degrees, that is 60 pounds of pressure on your neck. When you suffer from text neck, some symptoms might include vision problems, back pain, dizziness, back and shoulder pain, weakness, frequent headaches, slouch, and most obviously, neck pain. It really makes us think, wow, why am I getting all these headaches? Why am I getting a little bit dizzy? Why is it getting harder to do things? And it could be something as simple as text neck, which then just dickers your posture. You get that slouch, and then you get real back and shoulder pain. I did have a slide on it. Here it is. Ergonomics sounds expensive. Occupational Health and Safety Act regulations do not mandate employers to provide ergonomic equipment. However, employers do have an obligation under the Occupational Health and Safety Act General Duty Clause to keep the workplace free from recognized serious hazards, which then obviously includes ergonomic hazards. So again, it could be cheaper for employers in the long run to just invest in ergonomic equipment for employees' workspaces. We already talked about the musculoskeletal disorders. I got ahead of myself. Jumping into personal protective equipment is going to wrap up kind of the end of lesson 10. Personal protective equipment is designed to protect people from injury at work. Used for work-related occupational health and safety purposes, what your job is, what you come into contact with, what you have to do as your daily tasks or responsibilities would determine the personal protective equipment that you require. It might be steel-toed boots, it might be coveralls, a hard hat, a respirator, high-vis clothing, fire retardant clothing, earplugs or muffs, chaps, safety glasses, a harness, gloves. All of these are examples of personal protective equipment. I have a graphic on the board about list the required PPE and why might it be necessary. Why might one need to wear a helmet, earmuffs, glasses, a face mask, high-vis, that high visual clothing, gloves, steel-toed boots? When you look at the helmet, it is to protect the head. We want to be careful for anything that might be a falling hazard that could cause injury. The earmuffs to protect your ears from loud noises. We don't want to have hearing loss because you're around loud noises all day. The high-vis vest is so that you are noticeable to drivers or individuals around you, that you are seen. We want to be recognized so that we don't get run over or injured in any way. The steel-toed boots, if you're working, often we see construction or factories where things can be dropped and banged. We don't want to be crushing any toes. The gloves can protect from various things. It can protect from temperature, from chemicals, from certain hazards that are chemical or biological, depending on the glove. The face mask, again, can be for those chemical smells, can be for biological hazards, can be just to keep your lungs safe from dust or particles. And lastly, we have the safety goggles. We want to be mindful that no dust, again, particles, objects are going to be hitting our eyes. I had some scenarios of which hazard does the specified PPE work to reduce. You're to choose one of the following from the list provided and go through. For the sake of time, I am going to sneaky get out to see where we're at. Okay, we'll do a few of these because we are almost at the end. So the first one says, excuse me, safety goggles, eye protection. Is it working to reduce burns, bruises, or abrasions? Sorry, excuse me, team. Safety goggles, are they to protect from injury from impact, falling objects? Are they to protect from radiant light, flying sparks, or slag chips? Or would safety goggles be most likely to protect from flying particles, dust, and stone chips? If you chose, there we go. So we should be able to just click on it and find out if we are right or not. Let's see if I can hit, nope. How did I do this last year? Last year I got this to work. Maybe we have to get out of the presentation mode. Let's see, if we click flying particles, dust, and we hit submit, ding, 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 we are correct. I'm not sure why it came up in Spanish. I did try to fix that, and it didn't work. The next slide, hard hats or helmets, the head protection. Is it protecting from intense heat, hazardous chemicals? Is it protecting from injury from impact, falling objects? Is it protecting from flying particles, dust, stone chips, or exposure to nails? If we click on injury from impact and falling objects, then we are correct. Now, what happens if we pick the wrong one? Maybe we'll find out. Face shields, face protection. Does it protect from dust, splashes, sprays of hazardous liquids? Does it protect from flying particles, dust, and stone chips? Does it protect from punctures, fractures, amputations, or from heavy falling objects? If you pick flying particles, dust, and stone chips, you wouldn't be wrong, but it's not the best answer. So we got to test that it isn't correct, because if you're just looking to protect from flying particles, dust, and stone chips, yes, your face shield could do that, but so could the safety goggles. A face shield is more suited or better to protect from dust, splashes, or sprays of hazardous liquids. The next asks about safety shoes, foot protection. Is it protecting from hot metals or liquids? Is it protecting from punctures, fractures, amputations? Is it protecting from flying objects, electrical shock, or burns? Is it protecting from wet or slippery surfaces, heavy objects, and exposure to nails? Again, if you picked hot metals or liquids, yes, it could protect from that. I'll never forget when I was a firefighter with the M&R. After we'd come back from a long fire in the evenings, you're making supper. One of the firefighters, just for around base camp is what we called it, they had their Crocs on and they were carrying a boiling pot of water, and the water spilled, and obviously the holes in the Crocs did nothing to protect their feet from the hot metals or liquids. If you had real shoes on, it would protect better. But for this case, which would it best protect from? If you pick wet, slippery surfaces, heavy objects, or exposure to nails, you are most correct. We have 4 more. The welding shields. So these are more intense than just a face shield. A welding shield would definitely protect from flying particles, dust, sawdust, stone chips. It would protect from dust, splashes, sprays, or hazardous materials. But a welding shield is thick. It has a special glass that helps to protect from radiant light, flying sparks, spatters, and slag chips. It's that radiant light that is protected by that special reflective glass that they have. And it does way more protecting your eyes than just goggles. The next one is gloves and sleeves, hand and arm protection. Is it going to protect you from hot metals or liquids, intense heat or impact from tools or machinery, burns, bruises, abrasions, cuts, punctures, fractures, amputations, or objects falling or rolling against your arm? Now again, it depends on the kind of glove. If we're talking the latex medical gloves, then no, it's not going to protect from hot metals or liquids. If you had these big rubber gloves, then yes, that could work. Again, some gloves are not going to protect against abrasions, cuts, punctures, fractures, amputations, but some gloves will. And that's where, again, you can, depending on the glove, you might be right or wrong, depending on the option that you chose. The last one is the vests, the coveralls, the bodysuits, the aprons, these body protections. Is it to protect against punctures, fractures, amputations, hot, wet, or slippery surfaces, intense heat, cuts, hazardous chemicals, impact from tools or machinery, electrical shocks, or burns? It's going to depend on the vest. Are we talking the Kevlar vest? Are we talking just a high-vis reflective vest? Are we talking coveralls just to help with splashes? Are we talking about a full bodysuit? The apron? What can it protect from? Because it could protect from multiple things if we were talking about a specific one or the other. More often than not, it's referring to the intense heat, the cuts, the hazardous chemicals, or impact from tools or machinery. We had some scenarios picked for the spot the hazard. I will go through one quickly with you so that you can see. And if you want, you can go to worksafebc.com and practice your own scenarios. See which ones you can spot. Challenge yourself on how many can you see. So the photo has been staged to show a number of safety hazards. Dangerous work habits. How many can you find? You're to click wherever you see a dangerous work habit or hazard. A text box is going to appear. You're going to write the description of the problem. Click OK, and then keep going. When you've done, you can click the top left-hand corner of the photo. So if we see, the feet, we can say improper posture because you can see the angle of her hip, and then you click OK. Click on the cords. You can say tangled cords. That would be a safety hazard. If you see the phone, improper posture. She's reaching over. And then you are to click done. It will tell you all of them. All of the ones that were a problem. And if you just touch on the circles, it's going to tell you what the issue was. So you can do that for a variety of scenarios. We are going to wrap up with just talking about certification, that if you take any kind of training in the courses or the workplaces that you're in, feel free to save them and print them or include them in your final culminating digital portfolio. Depending on your workplace, you might have safe food handling, you might have hand washing, you might have allergy awareness, you might have accessibility for Ontarians with disabilities, you might have safe driving, ladder safety. If your place of employment makes you do any kind of HR training videos, usually you get something after them. Save them, print them out, include them. They are so valuable, even though sometimes you think, oh my goodness, it's just another one, but they can be used on your resume. If you took any kind of training course, you can include it as a section of your resume, courses and training or conferences and courses. Let your future employers know what you've been exposed to and what you've learned about, because it could be transferable for another place of employment, or it just shows, look, you are willing to learn, you're willing to go through the different conferences, the different courses, the different training opportunities to learn. People are always looking for employees who are willing to be open-minded and expand and continuously learn. When we wrap up health and safety, it's important to keep in mind that safety is everyone's responsibility. Employees, supervisors, and employers all have a role to play. It's also important that you know your rights. Familiarize yourself with the acts and laws that have been put in place to protect you. The Canadian Human Rights Act, the Employment Equity Act, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and the Occupational Health and Safety Act. If you are familiar with these, you can confidently ask for certain things in the workplace or at home or in public, wherever you are. When you are knowledgeable, you are powerful in standing up for yourself and others. Remember to do the Keeping Young Workers Safe quiz. It's not a real quiz. I just call it a quiz because when you do it on Google Classroom, you can fill out the answers and it's going to automatically mark it so you can get your grade right away. But it's not a quiz. Don't think that it adds extra pressure to it. It is simply so that you get instantaneous feedback. That's all it is. If you do it in as a hard copy in your independent learning booklet, then you'll see it's not a quiz. You don't have to go anywhere special to be proctored while you take it. It's just in Google Forms, saved as a quiz. That's all the time that we have for today. Tomorrow we're going to do a bonus lesson with some bonus material, still talking about health and safety, and next week we will jump into lesson 12. Hope you